Hello guys, thank you so much for coming back to watch another video on my channel. Resident Evil 1, a title which needs no introduction, and it will never get old for us survival horror fans, and the Capcom knows how much importance it holds in this iconic franchise. Now Capcom is eyeing to remake this game. However, what changes we're going to see in this remake? Well, let's find out together in this video. Now if you end up liking this video I've made for you, do give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It would allow me to make more of these videos for you guys. Sometimes there are games which are not bound by time and considered timeless. Resident Evil 1 Remake is one of those games. This game catapulted not just the genre for the horror gaming, but inspired many games to come. And the 2002 remake has perfected this game to become a cult classic title for all the survival horror enthusiasts. The atmosphere has this art to it, ranging from the mystery to claustrophobia to pure survival horror in an environment which magically pulls you with the gorgeous pre-rendered background and the melody which resonates with it. It's just a perfect survival horror game. However, it's not denying that this game was even re-released more than 20 years ago. Now, recent Resident Evil fans who never had a chance to experience this masterpiece always question the missing piece of puzzle when considering the events of Arklay Mountains and how everything was started in this franchise. So the remake of this iconic game is imminent from Capcom, and therefore here are changes which we will expect to get from the remake of Resident Evil 1. The most obvious point which will come to mind when we can imagine seeing a remake of Resident Evil 1 is the graphical and gameplay changes. Now, among the recent remakes we have seen in this franchise, from survival horror to action horror, they all followed a common change when it comes to modernizing those titles, and that is a new camera perspective. It's a shift which modern AAA survival horror games are now adapting to, and it's a dead giveaway that the same camera perspective will be considered for Resident Evil 1 Remake as third person over the shoulder camera angle. This camera perspective is becoming a staple and norm for the survival horror games moving forward, and long gone tank control mechanics which was originally introduced in the original Resident Evil titles. I wish Capcom to take a step further and provide a camera freedom to the players, from tank control to third person to even first person camera perspective. Now this would create a big replayability in the game, plus allow all the players to get on board to play this iconic game, as many Resident Evil fans has a diverse taste among the community, and everyone sees a Resident Evil title from their own perspective. Now RE Engine is one of the best things which has happened to Resident Evil franchise, and we will see the continuation of this engine to be used in the future titles, including Resident Evil 1 Remake. This engine has the capability with the photogrammetry technique to create the most realistic atmosphere to captivate the player. Spencer Mansion is one of those iconic locations which felt like a character in itself, and with today's technology it would elevate that experience which we fans originally felt when we played Resident Evil 1. There is so much potential to add in the story of Resident Evil 1 characters. Before William Birkins becomes this hideous monster in Resident Evil 2 Remake, we need to understand what sort of monster he was prior to his transformation. He played an important role in the events of Spencer Mansion and was even involved in the experiment of Lisa Trevor. We never got the chance to witness the horror which was bestowed upon that young girl. However, this remake can fill that jigsaw puzzle and show us the events which has befallen on Lisa Trevor and her family. Then we have the characters which we meet in Resident Evil 1 Remake. They can be fleshed out far better with additional story piece which can add to their events which occurred from their perspective in the Spencer Mansion. Furthermore, add a playthrough segment leading to Spencer Mansion which can add an extra layer to the game. Even adding more backstory to the main protagonist of the game will flesh these characters out which we all fell in love with from the franchise. Resident Evil 1 provided a lot more freedom to the player. Level design and how the backtracking works in that game is one of the most finest features which you can find in this Resident Evil franchise. This game provided that morality system of deciding the fate of those characters which you meet in your playthrough. It is up to the player whether to survive solo or make the right actions at the right time to save them all. Now this is a freedom which was offered in a game which came out a decade ago, and the expectations has since been changed, and as the genre has evolved, so does the demand. Therefore, we want Capcom to recapture that lightning moment again by surprising us fans with the freedom we can expect from this remake. For example, Capcom can follow the same sort of style we've seen in Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 2 Remake with A and B scenario. Resident Evil 1 Remake will feature two different protagonists, so we can expect each choices and interaction would play out different from each other's characters, and this will create an extra layer and flush out those characters and those story elements a bit further in this remake. Add more additional areas which can only be explored by a certain protagonist with a risk and reward situation, which can also add an extra layer of freedom in the game. More recent titles in this franchise is already offering that feature, so why it cannot be applied in a game which is beloved by Resident Evil community across the globe. Resident Evil 1 story was the anchor point of this franchise, with the introduction of the T-Virus, which further developed into this massive outbreak with a different variation, and the introduction of new story plots which were later added in this franchise. The characters like Rebecca Chambers was portrayed as naive and innocent field mechanic in Resident Evil 1 Remake, in contrast to the character we've seen in Resident Evil 0, as someone who managed to survive a plethora of BOWs and managed to survive on her own. Then with the continuation of the Resident Evil franchise, we have a new story threads added with Miranda's connection with Oswald E. Spencer, which was unveiled towards the end of Resident Evil Village. Now these story elements can also be explained through documents rather than cutscenes, which can still retain the mystery of the game, and this way it will avoid for the story from being convoluted and spoiled. So this cohesive and revamped story, which would only benefit and connect this remake to the overall Resident Evil franchise, including Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil Village, is one of the most important features we need in this remake. Resident Evil 1 original remake, which was first released in 2002, wasn't just a one-to-one remake of the original title. However, it added some brand new features which perfected that game over the original. For example, a zombie who's been gunned down can turn into these Crimson Heads, which was a brand new type of enemy. Now, unless you burn the body down or killed with a headshot, then be prepared to face a more severe type of zombie in the later sections of this game. We then had a brand new enemy type, Lisa Trevor, a character who's been subject to the experiment with a tragic brutal tale. There was this care and effort which was put into the work of this remake, which was evident throughout the game, and nothing felt out of place. So Capcom knows what made this remake surpass the original and wants to continue in the same trend. This is evident with the most recent titles, as Capcom has been adding these features. For example, Resident Evil 4 Remake had a new enemy type compared to the original. Same goes for Resident Evil 2 Remake. Furthermore, a new stalker enemy type, if done right in a confined environment, can further elevate the experience of this remake. Look at Mr. X, which made us feel claustrophobic in RPD Station. And the same thing can be done in the Spencer Mansion. So what do you guys think with the changes I've mentioned in this remake we can expect? Please do let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below in this video. So that's it for the video, guys. I'll catch you again with another video on my channel. Until then, look after yourself. Have a good one.